Entrepreneurs Over 40, Episode 63, with author Liana George.
Have faith in yourself, believe that you can, and don't let anybody stop you from trying.
You're listening to Entrepreneurs Over 40, the show for somewhat mature entrepreneurs and side hustlers. And now your host, Greg Mills.
Our guest today is a sought-after speaker, blogger, and author. Before pursuing a career in writing, she was a professional organizer and the former owner of By George Organizing Solutions in Houston. Her debut novel, Perfectly Arranged Book 1 in the Hopeful Heart series, was released in October 2021 from Scrivenings Press. The second book in the series, Perfectly Placed, released July 5th. When she's not putting things in order or scribbling away, you can find her reading, traveling, or watching tennis. Introducing the one and only Liana George.
Hello. So nice to be here with you today.
Nice to have you. Now, Liana, can you take a few moments and fill in the gaps from that intro and bring us up to speed with what's going on in your world today?
Sure. So I had been a stay-at-home mom for 18 years. I had two daughters. And when my oldest started going to college, I thought, I need to find something to do for myself. I needed to find myself, I guess. And at this time, I was about 40, 41, 42. So I needed to find myself. And I looked at all the things that I love to do, and organizing and writing were the top two. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself as a writer, so I started organizing. I did that for about 5 years. And then in the middle of that, I felt called to write a book, but I knew nothing about it, how to write a fiction novel. I knew how to write nonfiction because as part of my organizing business, I wrote blogs and magazine articles and things like that. But I had no idea how to write a fiction novel. So I hired a coach, because I think even if the great athletes of the world need a coach, even everybody else, even all the normal people need one too. So I hired a coach. I spent 3 years working on that book, and then it got picked up by a small press, and they signed me for 3 books. So now I have a author entrepreneurship. I went from being a business organizer to an author professional. And then just a few weeks ago, I decided that maybe I should do another company. And so I started a different one that combines the organizing and the writing. It's like, those Venn diagrams where you put the 3 circles together. I had the organizing one, I had the writing one, and I didn't realize how much the helping one was. And so in that sweet spot is what we call the author's right hand. And so it is a virtual assistant and marketing, boutique company that helps Christian and clean fiction authors we handle the marketing side so they can do the things that they love to do, which is really just write. Writers just want to write. We don't want to market our books. We don't want to, be on social media or all that kind of stuff. We just want to play with the characters in our heads. And so I saw a real need for that. And so I formed a team of 4 of us, and we have this thing. It's been amazing to see it take off. We already have 4 or 5 clients in just the few weeks we've been open. We don't even have our website up. So it's definitely a need. It was a pain point that I saw and just decided to jump on the bandwagon. Okay.
Now, do you come from an entrepreneurial or an author's background at all? Did anybody in your family have a company or write a book?
No, not at all. Not at all. No. When it's really funny because now I see my daughters doing it. And so I'm kind of like, maybe they got it from me and I just didn't realize it. But yeah, no, my dad, he worked for the IRS. My mom worked for the Texas Department of Agriculture. And they didn't, at the time, that was not a big thing to be an entrepreneur, I don't think. And so that was nothing that I saw exemplified in my life. And as far as the writing, no, there's nobody in my family that writes. My dad's a big reader, but that's about it.
What motivated you to change career? Well, not careers, but I guess, let's go back with that.
I did a complete shift. So, like I said, I started the By George Organizing, where I would go in and I would help people declutter their homes. We'd get rid of the things they no longer love, wanted, or need. And then we would try to make systems and, organizing systems that would work for them in their space. And that was great. I loved meeting the people. And that's where I got the idea for my book in the first place. But I got tired of kind of just holding bags and saying, do you like this? Do you want it? Do you need it? I didn't feel like it was the best use of my skills. And I felt like when I was there, I wanted to be home writing. And when I was home writing, I never wanted to leave. I just wanted to stay home and write. So I just kind of felt that shift in my heart. And then physically, after being over 40 and then over 50, it was becoming a little bit harder to kneel down and get into people's lower kitchen cabinets or climb up the stairs up and down with, boxes of donations that they wanted to give away. So it became a physical, I kept thinking to myself, physically, how long do I think I can do this? And I knew that I couldn't. So I wanted to give my full time and attention. I believe where you put your focus is where you see your growth. And so I wanted to put my focus. So I slowly just stopped seeing clients, and I thought I would miss it. I thought, I'll go back to it. And I have not won at all. I still do organizing for a while. Well, I have a part-time job where I write for an organizing company out of Chicago, and I volunteer teaching some lower income families organizing procedures and methods and things like that as a volunteer. I still do that. So it's still within me, my passion, but not where I want to earn a living in it day in and day out.
Okay.
So then I shifted, and I didn't think about myself as an author entrepreneur until I got that contract. Then everything kind of shifted there.
I'm kind of surprised you haven't done a nonfiction book about organizing.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because my publisher, who just publishes fiction, that's all they focus on. She decided a few weeks ago to expand the line and make an imprint of nonfiction. And actually, I had been working on a nonfiction organizing book, but it was different because, there's already Marie Kondo out there. There's already the home edit. There's no way I'm ever anything I have to say is going to, be as best-selling as their stuff. And in nonfiction, you have to have a really different angle for your writing. So I thought, I want to keep it faith-based because that's very important to me. And so I started writing devotionals based on what the Bible has to say about being organized. And most people don't realize how much the Bible has to say about being organized. It's truly mind-blowing when you look at it. And so I've partnered with another faithful Christian organizer, and we've written a book, and my publisher, I submitted it to her for consideration, and that will be coming out in 2023. So, yeah.
Okay. We'll have to have you back on when that does come out.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to.
How did you receive a call to write a book?
Oh, well, I knew that I loved writing. I mean, I have loved writing since I was a little girl. I mean, I can remember writing. I was actually a journalism major before I became a teacher. So I loved writing. It's always been my passion. But fear also took a big hold of my heart. And so I had to overcome that fear before I could do anything else. But it was the organizing that actually helped me come up with the story idea. I should back up a little bit. We lived in China for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
We lived overseas for a total of 5, 2.5 in China, 2.5 in Germany with my husband's chemical company. And while we were in China, my dad had called and said, hey, I know you go to Shanghai a lot. We lived like 2 hours away. And he said, next time you go, I have a friend who found this business card for an address in Shanghai and her father's things. And she doesn't understand why he would have it. He had just passed away. She was going through her stuff. He said, the next time you go, can you look for the address? And I said, sure. So we went the next time and we looked for the address. But, the street names change and things change a lot, especially in a city like Shanghai. And we just couldn't find it. So I kept the card, and I always thought to myself, I wonder what was there. And I wonder why the father had it and never told his family. So I kept it tucked away, and I thought to myself, that would make a great story, but I just didn't know what to do with it. And like I said, I didn't have a clue how to write fiction. So I just tucked it away like most authors into my idea pile. And then fast forward to my organizing years, and somebody was asking me, gosh, I bet you have the best stories about being in people's homes. I was like, oh, it. I mean, I've done an entire shoe room. I've just had story after story. I did a Broadway guy who was on Broadway as a kid. And then it dawned on me, there's the story. A professional organizer and her client are going through her father's things, and they find a business card. And that what leads them on the adventure to China to uncover what's there. And so that's what my first book, Perfectly Arranged, is about. It's the beginning of the story of a professional organizer, her eccentric client, who was based on one of my clients, and they go to China to uncover a family mystery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can you walk us through your writing process?
Oh, wow. That's
That may be a loaded question.
It may be a loaded question. For me now, it's much easier. At first, it was really hard. I mean, I had no clue. I had no idea how to write. And even though I loved writing a fiction story is not as easy as everybody thinks it is. I've got this idea for a book. It's what people say, right? And they think it's easy. It's not. It's a lot of work. You have to understand the craft of writing. You kind of have to understand there's not a formula, like you just plug in a formula, but there are certain elements that every story needs to have based on its genre. So I write contemporary women's fiction. So, I have to have certain elements in there. If I wrote romance, you'd have to have certain elements. If you write mystery, same thing. So I had to learn the craft, and I've had to learn how to write, like whether I want to be a plotter or a pantser, which means do I sit and plot down everything that happens in every chapter and every scene, or do I just take the idea and start writing by the seat of my pants? I've gone back and forth with that, and I have found that the more I know about a story, the more I plot out the story, the better writer I am. And so I don't need like to the, extent that, I have every single little detail. I like to be writing and then let the ideas come, but I'd like to know where I'm going on the path. So that's what I do. So what I do first is I will come up with the idea, and then I will plot out what we call the story skeleton. What's going to happen. You have to have an inciting incident, something that changes, the person, your main character's everyday world. Like, so think Luke Skywalker, that would be when, that's the example they use, the day that everything changed is when he met Ben Kenobi and his whole world got changed upside down when they destroyed his aunt and uncle's house. So he's get this call to adventure. So you got to have this inciting incident, and you got to have something at the 25, at the 50% mark, you've got to have, the middle, and then you've got to have this dark moment around the 75% where all hope is lost, right? And, Ben dies, all hope is lost, but then there's still redeeming at the end, and you bring it to a conclusion. So I had to learn how to, first I start with that because I need to make sure I've got those points. Then I start filling in the gaps from there. And what I do is I take each chapter and I write out, what is the goal of the chapter? What is the character's motivation? What are going to be some conflicts? Because no good story is a story without conflict. So you need some conflict in there, which, it's like somebody dying, somebody not getting what they want, things like that. And then you've got to have kind of a decision, what am I going to do here? And then you kind of move into the next chapter. So I will go through and I will create what we call a scene and sequel for each scene. And then once I have that all written out, kind of a big outline. Then I take my handy Remarkable, and I don't get paid, but if they'd like to pay me for it, I use my Remarkable tablet and I write out by hand probably 80,000 words, if not more, because you do a lot of editing. So I write everything by hand. I can type it out. It just doesn't, there's a connection between my brain and my hand. Yeah. That I just write better with that. So I write everything by hand. The Remarkable tablet converts it into text. And then I just put it in my Word document and revise. And so then after I do that, I revise. I try to write 2 chapters a week, and each chapter is about 4,000 words. So I write about 8,000 words a week just on the book, but I probably write more than that on other things. Then I revise. I work with my coach every week. We just got off a call. She'll give me her feedback, some guidance, and then I just keep going until I get the book done and try to finish it before the publisher wants it.
What surprised you the most about the writing process?
How hard it is, how truly hard it is. And so I tell new people, new writers, new wannabe, aspiring authors to practice. How you play is how you practice. So start before you ever get the book contract, acting like a writer. Sit down in the chair, dedicate the time, learn the craft, so that when that contract comes around and the next book comes, because I got my first contract in 2020, December of 2020, they wanted just the first book. And I was going to have to write out the second. And then my publisher said, no, I love the story. Let's just sign you for the 2 others. She took it on good faith. And so I had to quickly start writing. And I was not prepared for all the things I had to market for book one, plus, learn and write for book two and plot out. So I always tell people, I wish I would have been better prepared, I guess. Yeah.
I could see that. Now, did they handle all of the editing and the book cover art? And
They do.
Okay.
They do. So I'm very blessed by that. It's a small print press. In the industry, if you want one of the bigger publishing houses, you usually have to have an agent. And I don't have anything against an agent, but they, usually want you to have a bigger platform. They want you to have, these kind of numbers for your email list and for your social media. And I thought, why don't I just go the route of not? If there are publishers who are willing to pay me to write books, then, why, if they don't want an agent, they don't want to deal with that, then I'm not going to. So I don't have an agent, but I do have the publisher. I do pay an outside editor first. So like, for example, for this third book, I'm just about finished. I will give it to her mid-September. She will give me some feedback because I've just had my eyes on it. My coach and I have had our eyes on it for so long. We just want a fresh set of eyes. I'll give it to my beta readers to see what they think of it. I have some very faithful friends that I can take criticism from and not you feel like I'm at the end of the world. And so then I get that back, and about 3 or 4 weeks later, I give it to my publisher. Then it goes through another round of content developmental edit. When she finishes, then it goes to the line edit, and that's where they're looking for the grammatical things, making sure that the words that need to be italicized or, the commas are in the right place. And then during that time, my publisher and I work on the graphics for the cover and then all the book blurb things, the back copy, marketing tools, different things like that. And then then I'm on my I'm kind of on, because it is a small press, kind of on my own for publishing. They do give me a few graphics to help out with, but they have a limited budget, which I understand. So that's kind of why I started the author's right hand to help those who I saw a lot of authors struggling with that. Once they got to the point where it's time to launch their books, they're kind of like, I don't know what to do. Or I don't know how to do it. So that's kind of why we started that business.
Let's talk about that some. Now, what are all of the services that you offer? Because I could see it. And I guess even backing up from that a little bit, who is your ideal client? Would it be somebody that has a publishing contract, or would it be an independent author?
Both. Actually, both. And actually, I also want to attract unpublished writers because, like I said, how you practice is how you play. And they need to have things in order, because once that book contract comes up, everything starts just going and multiplying exponentially really fast. And you're expected to do certain things while you're still trying to edit and write and things like that. And they aren't ready for it. So I want to help unpublished authors who, are pretty close to getting that book deal. I want to help published authors, whether they're traditionally published with small presses, large presses, doesn't matter, and independent authors as well, because they too have, a lot of things. I mean, you just have to juggle so much. And especially when you don't have a press behind you, then they have to have somebody to do the covers, and they have to do the marketing, and it can be a lot. And, the people are out there going, we want more books. We want more books. And they're like, I don't have time for more books because I'm over here doing all these other things. So that's who I would say my target audience is.
What type of services are you offering them?
Yeah,
are you editing, marketing?
No editing. Okay. I don't even edit my own books.
Okay.
I don't want to touch other authors' books. No, basically, we want to help them get organized and get ready for what's coming up. We offer email, having a newsletter. That's really one of the best ways to sell a book is with a newsletter. So we want to help them get that set up in a way that's just not by my book. It's connecting with the author, developing a relationship with the author that makes them go, I really like how she writes. I like what she has to say. I think I'm going to go buy her book. So we help them get them set up with that, create that landing sequence or welcome sequence, landing pages, things like that for emails, ways to build their email list. We help them with the newsletter writing, content ideas, social media, same way, content, getting those pages to where they need to be. A lot of people don't realize how important your banner is or how much your headshot matters, or having just the right information on your Instagram bio. It's just, precious commodity. How do you make the most out of that space? And a lot of people just don't understand that. So helping them with those kind of things, helping them with their blogs. You would be amazed at how many writers don't like to blog or don't know what to blog about. You would think that would be easy, but they don't know what to blog about. So helping them with that, because that's another way to draw people to their website where hopefully their books are listed and people want to read their books. And helping them with reader sites like Goodreads, BookBub, Amazon Author, things like that. And then, of course, hopefully book launches. That's a huge thing to need help with. I learned that the hard way after I about killed myself with the first one. And even with the second one, I thought I was better prepared. And it was still a very tiresome, very exhausting, really hard 6 weeks. And so I want to help people get set up with that and get their launch teams in place to help publicize and get the word out about their books.
And what did you do for your book launches?
Oh, so, we were still in COVID shutdown kind of time. So it's not like you can go and, have these long lines. Because I'm with a small press, I can't go over to Barnes and Noble and, have a signing where people are standing out the door waiting to get my book.
But at that point, no one else was either.
No one else was either. So I got a group of about 20 people. They all happen to be women, but that's not limited to launches. And I spent the 6 weeks with them, really getting them to know me and to know my story and the characters and building that excitement. So they wanted to go tell people. Launch team members get an advanced reader copy. So they get to read the book so that they can tell people about it, and they can share it on social media, leave reviews on Amazon and Goodreads, and then, just have fun. I like to, have fun with people. So I would do giveaways and, Zoom calls where they could ask me questions and things like that. And then I did my launch a little bit differently in that I am an introvert. So I'm not big on, spending time with. So I decided to do it my way. Instead of having a book signing at some place and telling the public, come sign my, come buy my book. You don't know me. My husband was wonderful as he is. And he planned a whole weekend where we kind of, redid some of the steps in the book. They're kind of hard since they're in China. We went and ate hot pot, for example. One of the scenes in the book was they went and ate hot pot. So we took our closest family and friends and we went to a hot pot for lunch. And then in the book, they climbed the Great Wall. So we went to some natural bridge caverns here in Texas and we journeyed through there. And then we had this really nice dinner at night where I got to go around the room and just tell every person what they meant to me on the journey to get to where I was that day. Then I sold like 40 books. I had brought books and they bought books for people and I sold 40 books and I signed all of them. And, it was almost the same thing, but it was my way of doing it. It's maybe not popular for everybody, but it was a special night, one that I'll always remember. And, it was great.
Going back to helping authors with their blogs and their newsletters, on the content, do you advocate having separate content for each? And how often should they publish to both? Yeah.
So, there are two different things there. So for like social media, if you want to be a writer, if you want to, have a published book, go ahead and get started now. Create that author page. You can call it, I felt uncomfortable calling myself author because I felt like you had to be published to call yourself that. But actually an author is anybody who writes something. And if you write a blog, if you write an article, if you write a devotion for your child, or whatever, you're an author. So go ahead and create that author page and start posting things on there. I tell people to post things. It's the same way with business. It's the like, know, and trust factor, right? People want to buy from people that they like, know, and trust. And you're actually selling your product, which is a book. So you have to get people to like, know, and trust you. So post things that will get people to do that. And if it's too much to give different material, then cross post. I cross post all the time from Facebook to Instagram, but, and post on platforms where your readers are. There is no point for me to post on TikTok because that is a lot for younger kids. I don't write YA or middle school stuff. I write for 25 to 60-year-old women. Well, but they're going to be on Facebook and Instagram. So that's where I want to spend most of my time. So I would say, do that. During a launch, I'm posting 5-7 times a week, 1 or 2 times a day, because I have so much going on. I'm on a blog tour and I want to tell people, go read their blog tour. I want to let them know there's a free chapter on my publisher's website, or, this is what it looks like when you're going through a launch and this is your office space, so I try to, it's a little bit crazier when I'm not launching 3 to 5 times a week. I don't need to be on there every day, and I don't always need to be talking about my book stuff. So, but for newsletters, if you're starting out and you don't have a book yet, go ahead and start building that list, because you will. And that's one of the things when you go talk to go to conferences and talk to agents and editors and publishing houses, they're going to ask you, do you have a newsletter list? So go ahead and start building it. You don't need to publish every month. Maybe every quarter would be good for somebody who's just starting out. But if you have a publisher, you have a contract for books, you need to be publishing once a month for sure, at least. And then, again, tailor it to the message that maybe you have on your blog. So, I do different things with my blog. One, it was for a while I was doing, what I was reading, and telling people what I was reading. And now I'm doing reading challenges. Everybody does these big reading challenges. So I have my team curate some books that fall under different genres that they could qualify for the reading challenges. I may do author interviews next year for the whole year, just kind of do it. So, but then sometimes I'll intersperse it with things like, because my character's professional organizer, she takes over the blog and she does Nikki Mayfield's organizing tips on how to pack for a trip because she's going on a trip. Or, book 2 deals with a lot of paperwork. She's looking for some missing documents. So she gave some tips on how to do that. But definitely at least once a month blog, and once a month do a newsletter. And in your newsletter, mention your blog, because you want to direct people to that traffic.
Are you like setting them up with either MailChimp, MailerLite, or whatever, or is the author doing that?
No, we can help them do that. I found both. Just this week alone, today and tomorrow, I have client appointments, and the lady we met with today, she's already got it set up, but she only has like 50 people on it. Her book comes out next September. So we need to help her get that newsletter list growing so she can let more people know. The client I'm meeting with tomorrow has no newsletter. She doesn't have MailChimp. She doesn't have anything. So we need to go in and get that MailChimp set up for her. And so we'll do both, and tell them kind of like some guidelines to how to build that newsletter and craft it in a way that's engaging, informational, without being too salesy.
What do you recommend as a way to build a newsletter for somebody that does not have a published book?
You start with your mom and your dad, your grandparents, your sister, any close relative. Yeah, you just start with them. And then you get on, you find different ways to engage with other writers, and, you swap out and, but then the other thing too is the writers have a great advantage because they like to write. So write a short story that you give away for free for somebody who signs up for your newsletter. I don't have that yet. I was blessed that I had a large list from my organizing business. And so when I quit, I said, hey guys, I'm quitting. And then when I started my writing, I went back to that list. I said, you know me as an organizer. And if you want to unsubscribe because I'm not doing, that's fine. But if you want to follow me along on this new writing journey I'm going on, I'd love to have you continue. So I was blessed to already kind of start with a large list. And so I've been able to build that over the last 2 years. But I don't have that. But one of my goals this year, when my life calms down, is to write a prequel to Perfectly Arranged, a short little prequel that tells us how Nikki got into the situation she gets to when you open page 1 and find out that she's hanging up her label maker. So I'm going to do that. But people can write short stories or, some, just tips or something, to help others. If you have a specific, genre, or if you write nonfiction, that's a great way to get people to do that.
Now, by writing a short story or writing a kind of a lead magnet, if you will, are you advising people to like put it on Amazon as a permanent free
you could, or you could find other ways, especially for writers. There are different things like BookFunnel and things like that. They have opportunities. As a matter of fact, the lady that I spoke with today, she was like, I need a landing page because I want to give this free short story away on BookFunnel, but I need to direct people, to a landing page that I don't have a clue how to create. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways you can do that for sure. But make sure that it's been edited, make sure that it's quality material, because if they get turned off by your short story or novella that you offer for free and it's not any good, it's got a whole bunch of grammatical errors, then they're not going to want to buy your book later on down the line.
What's next for you?
Oh, So like I said, I have to finish up Perfectly Matched, which is book 3 in the series. My series is a little bit, some series are like you take a character and then maybe you take a secondary character from book 1 and give them their whole book in book 2. But mine's a continuation. So you kind of need to read them in order. About 8 chapters short of finishing that one. So my goal is to get that finished. I need to write at least 2 chapters for a romance novella that I'm working on with 3 other authors. That's going to come out hopefully in 2024 if it gets approved. I have to finish the organizing devotional by March of 2023. So I've got some writing projects for sure that will keep me busy. I want to write that prequel so everybody can know how Nikki got in trouble. And then, just developing my business for the author's right hand. I'd like to do some more speaking engagements. I do like to speak and teach. So I have a speaking engagement in Dallas next month. So I would like to do more about organizing and writing, helping writers get organized, because creatives tend to have a bad rap about being organized, that you can't be organized and creative. And I want to prove the world wrong that you can.
Yeah. Yeah, we can be organized. We can be creative.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can be both. It's just finding the right way for you, that works best for you.
Okay. Let's get ready to wrap this up.
Sure.
Is there anything that I've asked that I have not asked that you'd like to go over, or that you think that we should?
No, you've done a great job. You've allowed me to talk about my organizing, my writing, my author's right hand business. It's been great. I've loved it. I just want to encourage people, are 40 and think, oh, the world is over. It's too late. That it's never too late. I signed my first book contract when I was 50. And I thought for sure that would never happen. And I still have 7 or 8 more ideas. I'm not going to stop. I'm not let age stop me. So don't let that number stop you from whatever business or idea you want to do. If the young kids can do it, so can we. So keep at it, keep trying, and keep reaching for your goals.
Okay. Now, what book do you currently recommend to move someone interested in becoming an author to actually becoming an author or writing better?
That's a good question. Gosh, there's so many good ones. I would say if you just want to be inspired, then Stephen King's On Writing was really good. And Bird by Bird by Anne Lamont are really good books. I thought you were going to ask me. I had it all prepared because I thought you were going to ask me what book to be an entrepreneur. So I had that one ready too. So if you want that one,
let's pretend I was an actually good host. And what book do you recommend for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, what book do you recommend? So I have started reading Born to Build by Jim Clifton. It had me at page 2 or 3. I was like, this is amazing. And I'm so glad I found it. It talks about how to build a thriving startup, a winning team, new customers, and your best life imaginable. And I am just hooked on it so far. So I would recommend that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What software do you use primarily in your author journey? In your author journey, both in writing as well as in marketing and promoting.
Sure. So I am a Microsoft Word girl. Some authors really like Scrivener, which I do use Scrivener as well. It's got a steep learning curve, but those who take the time to learn it love it. But I do use it for my research and things like that. So I do use that for my business. I'm learning to love Google Drive. I'm just like, wow, the things I can do with Google Drive. So those are my 2 big ones at the moment.
Okay. What's the number one piece of advice that you can give for our listeners?
Have faith in yourself, believe that you can, and don't let anybody stop you from trying.
That's great advice. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for being a guest on Entrepreneurs Over 40.
Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed visiting with you. I haven't writers tend to talk a lot, so words are really big with us. So I hope I didn't babble too much, but I really did enjoy my time with you here today.
Check out the newly redesigned Entrepreneurs Over 40 website at www.entrepreneursover40.com. While you're there, sign up to get updates from us. Also, don't forget to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss any other episodes.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Over 40. Check us out at entrepreneursover40.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast directory.